Okay, hey everybody, this is Grace. And today I've been thinking a lot about this. You know how, I think in the past, when I was young, they used to say it as like when somebody took a dislike for another person. I think that's the expression they used, or the way they just worded it, was they took a dislike. You know, these days people would say, oh, they hate them, you know, like that. But when, you know, somebody just really got to them. Well, back then, a lot of people, you know, they had their own way of seeing things, and they would say that the reason anybody would take a dislike for somebody else was quite often because they hit a nerve, they hit close to home with something, whatever it was. It had a personal meaning, or that person had experienced something bad by somebody like them. You see, along this line. But there is also another thing that, like there's somebody, I find her very disgusting. Okay, and she's online. She makes videos. You know, I never knew why they call it content creators. The people who make YouTube videos, or any videos, for any, whatever. I think it's all content creators. Because why isn't it made simple and very understandable and just called video creators? I mean, isn't it really simple? Then it's very clear. They're video creators. They're creating videos for their channels, or their whatevers. But anyway, that's what I would call them. That's what I'm going to call them. So it makes it more simple, more understandable. But anyway, that, you know, people, this woman, I just find her disgusting. But what I talk about, what I say is, I've mentioned that I use my channels to, which ones I do use my channels for, is for venting, pressure release valve, things that I find disgusting, or, you know, whatever it is I dislike or see despicable. And what it does in the long run is journaling. Mine, I'm not telling anybody else to do it, so it might backfire for them. For me, it's a pressure release valve, and I'm not holding it all inside. And with my health, it's very important that I don't hold things inside. I've always been like this, though, since I was young and didn't have health problems like this. So I've always been like this. And I had my first computer in 1982, so yeah, this, you know, jump ahead now. And this is what I do. I don't say their name, their channel name. I don't point out who it is in any way. And I'm not here to gossip. I'm not here to be a reaction channel. Nothing like that. It's just that this is something I'm viewing, I'm seeing. I can talk about what I see on TV. You know, I was never into TV when I was younger, and now that I am, I see, wow, you know, I can talk about some of it's good, some of it's not so good, you know, whatever. But it also helps me in another way, in a more spiritual way, in that, you know, I feel like the wrong expression wouldn't be diamond in the rough, but I have some rough edges. You know, trying some things I have difficulty with as a Christian. I'm both a scientist and a Christian. Imagine that. By the way, for those of you who say that you're only going to go the rational, logical way, and be atheist, okay, go and read Pascal's wager. Just do it. Pascal's wager. And find out why Pascal felt that it was very, very, very rational to believe in God. Bye-bye. Anyway. But no, seriously. Have fun reading it. Anyway. But there are like rough edges like right there. But I have trouble, you know, the whole thing of hate the sin, love the sinner. Because I have not yet seen people who really changed tweaked, yeah. Like me, I know that I know I'm not a bad person. I know this, okay? But I'm not a perfect person. Like I was saying, a little rough edges on stuff. And that's my tweaking for me, is to become more, I talk about these things that bother me, why they bother me, and it helps me to see what's going on, why, forgive the person, show mercy, know that I myself, am not a perfect being. So, so some there out there, people out there who need to understand, show grace, mercy, all these kinds of things, love, still, even though they might not like me too. I might not like them, they might not like me, I might like them and they don't like me. What it is. You know the score, right? So it helps me spiritually. And spiritually, you say spiritually, some people have taken it down a different road. Well, I'm not, but it does help me. And like I said, it's not just one, and I didn't say this, but yeah, I've said in other videos, it's not just one person, but there is one. There's another one, like the woman who decided that it was her own decision to pick a side, and the side she chose was a man who worshiped the devil. I could say it another way, but that's changed too, the meaning. But he worshiped the devil, and who he called a Karen. She chose that the one that she chose is the best one to pick a side with, is the one that glorified the devil. And she calls herself a Christian. And then she says she's changed. She didn't point to that part, but 2 years later, she's still doing it. She said more, and she's still doing it. And this other one claims to be a Christian and says things. And I basically had been reading stuff. You got to dig deeper if you're really going to understand all this. And I've been told this myself over so many years in my life. You got to dig deeper. And if people say it in different ways, you got to go back to this chapter, this book, this, in the Bible and all that, these scriptures, and then go back forward and stuff like that. But yeah, I get it. Like, I looked up false prophets, and I looked up, there was things like that. Anyway. But basically, my disgust, I don't hate anybody, by the way, and I don't hate, but I find great disgust, and I looked that up, did a Google search, and I like doing those, and basically said to have disgust for the sin, hate the sin. Like I said, I don't really hate things, I just feel disgust or feel they're despicable. That's okay. And love the sinner, I still have problems with. I can see them as when they were a child, before whatever it was destroyed, basically destroyed their good character, and they've become evil. Evil or sinister or just despicable. Just, like the Bible also, the Bible has a problem with people who are swindlers, people who are basically master manipulators. They manipulate people so they can get money off of them, and some of them use Christianity, say they're Christian to do so. The Bible, it says the Bible says a lot about that, and it's all supposed to be about what God says. It's God's words. Anyway, that was a lot of stuff to put out there. But yeah. Okay. Now here's the thing on this that I was trying to get to. So much background, but this woman, I find what she does is disgusting. Notice what I said. Her actions, hate the sin, love the sinner. I just find her actions as disgusting and despicable. And but the thing about it is, I'm not saying the worst of what it is. I'm saying the ones that seem more, petty, but I'm not saying the worst, because they are I don't even know how to put it in any other way. They would probably might get me a community guideline strike if I were to talk about them. That kind of indecent, that kind of vulgar. You see, that kind of crudeness. If I were to mention it, if I were to explain it from what I have seen. Does that make any sense? I'm not going to say what it is. So that's another one of these things that people, you know, you find somebody has this great dislike for. You're not having the whole story, because there may be reasons why they can't tell you the whole story of why they find that person as despicable or disgusting, their actions, not the person, the actions, and they just can't tell you. So but it's not always the case. But still, if you see somebody having problems with somebody, think about that for a moment. There's something else going on behind the scenes, and they feel that it wouldn't be a good thing to tell you, tell anybody what it is. Okay, now as you see, there's this woman that won the one that talks about that she had made a choice, so she let everybody know, and chose the man who worships the devil, yet she says she's Christian. Okay, that one I don't have a problem saying why. I hate the sin, love the sinner. It's tough. And then she says she changes, and then say a year, 2 years later, no, she's basically still doing it, and it's bad. The stuff how she's, and she doesn't seem, a lot of these, they don't seem like people you would think are doing things wrong. They're false prophets. You would not think, just their appearance, yet there's this little twinkle, that's the way to call it, little twinkle in their eyes sometimes, that you get the feeling, yeah, they're smirking. It's like a little smirk, a hidden smirk. They can't totally have a 100% poker face. There's something, there's a tell. Some way, somehow. Yeah. I've jokingly said, but not so much jokingly, that my superpower is being a BS detector. When people are saying the stuff's coming out of their mouth, but there's that little twinkle, there's that tell. So, but not always. I'm not a perfect person. There are people that have managed to fool me at first, but it's usually at first. And we're all going to probably experience that. Even like counselors who focus on people who are like narcissistic people who are borderline, and they border on these, some of narcissism and so forth and so on. They can be fooled. I don't like that word. It's like blaming the victim. But yeah, by these master manipulators. Okay? And a lot of people can be. We shouldn't blame the victims, but be more understanding that people, they're not expecting it. Like the person looks like, how would I say it? Like, like you go to your hometown and just a real sweet person living there. Like, like say you grew up in a town and you're living in a city now. You go back home, to the town, and you're reminded of people who live like in some towns, and they're usually really, not usually, strike usually. I don't have any statistics on it, but quite often, say you grew up in one where the people are really decent. Overall, they're nice, friendly people. Overall, you got your, there's always that one at least. But, and you think of that person as somebody like that. But then you find out they were master manipulators, and they are nothing like that. Instead, they are swindlers. They're like making videos, or video creators, and what they put out there It's just a master manipulation to make money. And they're using Christianity, and they take out their Christian Bibles and they flip through them in the morning, you know, showing that they're reading their Bibles, just so they can fool people into paying them, to giving them money. Okay. And it would be somebody you just would not expect. They just don't look like it. Like as if sinister people, swindlers, have a certain look. They don't. But there's that tail somewhere, usually. I've yet to know one where there's not a tail. And that tail is like they somehow, some way, there's a smirk there. Somehow, some way. When they're lying, there's a smirk. Hiding, or not so much hiding. Like I said, don't always have their poker face on. So, okay, but anyway, I took a little breather break. But this woman, the one I find so despicable, so disgusting, behaviors, she did something again, and it kind of worries me. You see, I don't wish any evil on people who are evil. Vengeance is not mine. And it's just not me. I just don't want to. I don't wish bad on anybody. It's not how I am. I'm not that kind of person at all. It makes me cringe. But to think, if I see something happen. But I have been making these videos. I want to make more that say about some of the things that people do that are what you could actually call haters. Of certain video creators. But some would say rightfully so, some wouldn't. And they see that person, like say the video creator gets up there and says, if somebody dares to tell me what to do on my channel, on my videos, what I shouldn't do, I'm going to do it even more and even worse. Whatever it is, like I mentioned before, what could happen after that is that person is totally dislikes that. The viewer totally dislikes that person, then the video creator, and they, instead of being mean to them or leaving mean comments, they leave sweet ones, and they try to make that video creator embarrass themselves by saying something like, oh, you have such a wonderful singing voice, you just should do it more often. And their singing voice is like fingernails across a chalkboard. Some people don't even know what is a chalkboard. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's awful. So, but there's something deeper. They could, in this one where I'm not going to mention, it's just vulgar. Yeah, it's something like that. And I wonder if somebody is doing that to her. Like I said, I don't want to see something bad happen to somebody. I don't want to see somebody get humiliated or whatever, but she's going along with it, if it's true. Or somebody told her that's kind of vulgar, that's kind of crude, or however you would use crude might be. It's not something she's saying, but crude, something in there, in that kind of thought. And somebody may have told her that she should be a little embarrassed, so she's doing it more, because that's her person she put out there. If anybody tries to tell her, not to do something, or that she should do something, then not to do something, she's going to do it more. More and more often. And it's gross. It's something that is gross. So, gross. Like I said, it's within this vulgar, gross, whatever kind of thing. And I'm not going to say what. I'm not going to say who. So, and it's just But I also, now to get back to some part of this, also read, you know, like, you got to dig deeper. And when somebody is swindling, somebody's a grifter, they're e-beggars, but they're using things and they're not really needing the money. They're just trying to get the money. Like saying that they don't have enough money for groceries when they have plenty. Okay? And never correcting that. Never saying, okay, thanks for everybody who helped me. No, they continue it. Get people to pay for everything for them. You know. So, anyway. You know, I don't want to keep going on and on. I've been out here. I made a video before. This is like 30-something minutes. This is like the first time, and this is September 26th. It's 6:07 p.m. 2025. But this is really like the first time that I've felt comfortable coming out, because I have been pretty much what am I pretty come out like that? But pretty much I have not been healthy this month. You may hear it in my voice, and I still don't know what. My whole last video is about these kinds of problems with the doctors, different doctors and all that. Yeah, I needed to get that, like I said, venting. But this one is just disturbing, because I really do not wish any ill on these women. And that's just 2 of them. I don't, the goal really would be for, you know, hope that they would at least change their ways. They would think about it and they would stop. But like that one she said a year or 2 years ago, she was changing her ways, and no, she didn't. She just got deeper into evil, sinister. Yeah. So, you know, but you still hold out hope that they, you know, something will happen, that they see the light and they walk away from the darkness. That would be love for, you know, hate the sin, love the sinner. It's not easy. Really isn't. But anyway, you know, the whole thing of forgiveness, we need to forgive if we want forgiveness, and we are not perfect beings. So, wrapping it up. Talk to you on another video. Bye.